So this is how I split the width of a fence panel. So we carefully mark the distance we want, choosing the side that we want, just to make sure that when we fit it, it fits correctly, hopefully. So we do a measurement at the bottom with our little pencil, measurement in the middle, and then a measurement at the top. Then we join those together with a straight piece of wood, or in this case a straight edge used from the spirit level, and then we draw a line between the three marks, and then we cut to that line. Today we're going to use a circular saw, but I will show you another method using a hand saw as well. With the circular saw disconnected from the mains, adjust the depth of the saw blade so that it cuts just through the other side of the timber that you want to cut. Bearing in mind on this occasion we're cutting up the central batten of this large panel, which is unusual. Normally we tend to be going up through the different slats, but today we're going through the batten, so we have to be aware that there may be we might come across nails with the power saw, so it's best to wear gloves and eye protection. When you're using the circular saw, there are two marks usually on the front of the saw as guides. You can see those there, not very much in focus. They go back into focus a bit now. The one to the right shows, that one there says 0 degrees on it, that one there on the right hand side. And on the left hand side, where's my finger gone, it says 45 degrees. So those are the guides you use when you're sawing. So if you're sawing wood that you want at a 45 degree angle, or set it at the saw set at a 45 degree angle, then that's the saw guide you use. And for today's thing we're using the 0%, so the left hand side of that right hand guide is pretty much alongside our line. The saw takes a few millimeters of the sawdust away, but hopefully if the left hand edge of that right hand 0% guide is in line with the line on our panel, we should be about okay. All the odds and sods that you've got lying around off the fence panel so they don't get vibrate into the saw and get caught in the blade or anything silly, and make sure you've got plenty of cable between the extension cable and the end of the panel that you're wanting to cut, so you don't end up restricting the distance the saw can travel, because it'll only cause you problems longer term. So now have a bit of noise and we'll see how we go on. Hopefully you've also noticed the piece of 4x2 scrap timber we've put underneath the fence panel, which will keep the saw blade away from the grass, or if it's being cut on a workbench or a table or something, it will protect the table as long as we don't go too deep. And the 4x2 we put on the left hand side, as that's the piece of wood, the piece of fence we're going to keep for our project, and the other side hopefully will just gradually fall away as it's cut. We now moved all the odds and sods off the panel so they don't vibrate into the path of the saw. We're now going to saw away. Fortunately we managed to miss most of the nails. As it happens, pretty clean, just one nail in the top there. But when you're cutting along the grain of the wood, i.e. up this way, lengthways, then it's always far more difficult to cut, particularly with a hand saw and even with a power saw. If you're cutting across the grain, across this way, then it's much easier. This is the piece of panel that we're going to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a piece of batten along this edge here on both sides. Batten only the same thickness as this here, between there and there, so then it will fit into the concrete slotted post that we are aiming to put it into. So we put a batten on both sides and then screw the one batten to the other batten, making sure they're in alignment with the edge of the panel and that we don't make it too wide for our space that we got it intended for, and then that'll all be nice and solid.